Another challenge for focusing public attention on climate change is that it involves complex scientific issues. C.P. Snow, a physicist and novelist, brought attention to the schism that has developed during the 20th century between scientists and the rest of society. You, dear viewers, having perused nearly 50 of these videos, are now familiar with the science of global climate change and can discuss the issues with authority. Some of your less fortunate associates who are not privy to such information may find the science of climate change intimidating or boring, and therefore must rely on so-called experts to interpret this issue for them. Organizations from petroleum companies to environmental groups have engaged the services of experts who expound points of view consistent with their own interests. The resulting diversity of scientific opinions about climate change confuses the lay public. This video segment next looks to the lessons of history on environmental problems such as climate change, and then examines how opinions about this issue vary with societal factors such as national origin, education, gender, race, income, age, and religion. It describes the battle among various interest groups for the hearts and minds of the public. Traditionally, historians have emphasized the role of political, military, sociological, economic, and religious forces in the fate of human civilizations. Recent studies of civilization expand upon such treatments by including the influence of environmental factors. In particular, Jared Diamond, a professor of geography and physiology at UCLA, describes in his book Collapse a number of civilizations that have committed unintentional ecological suicide, or ecocide. He proposes that 5 major factors contribute to this fate: environmental damage, climate change, hostile neighbors, loss of friendly trade partners, and poor treatment of environmental problems. He documents the interplay of these factors in the downfall of the statue builders of Easter Island, the Anasazi of the North American deserts, the Mayans of Central America, and the Vikings of Greenland. An overall scenario for these civilizations is that agricultural advances such as irrigation, terracing, or introduction of exotic crops permitted unprecedented human population growth during periods of benign climate. Larger human populations forced the spread of agriculture onto marginal lands, including the newly cleared forests, and resulted in overhunting, overfishing, and overgrazing. This overexploitation of marginal lands led to water and soil problems, including salinization and erosion of fertile topsoil. Land degradation, periods of unfavorable climate, attacks by hostile neighbors, loss of trading partners, and combinations thereof drove these civilizations to collapse. Even the rich and famous of these civilizations, despite their access to better land, food, and weapons, and their religious authority, were unable to withstand a sudden surge of starving masses. Professor Diamond contrasts these failed civilizations against those of New Guinea highlands and Japan that had persisted for millennia through better population control and treatment of environmental problems. He compares modern Haiti with the Dominican Republic, sovereign states who share the island of Hispaniola, but who have managed their natural resources differently. Today, only 1% of Haiti remains forested, whereas 28% of the Dominican Republic remains forested. This has had dire consequences for Haiti: lack of building materials, loss of soil fertility, high sediment loads in rivers, loss of watersheds and hydroelectric power, and decreased rainfall. Has humankind learned from the lessons of the past? Professor Diamond, although he describes himself as a cautious optimist, expresses doubts about worldwide conservation and restoration efforts. In the last video of this course, I address this question with respect to global climate change and reach a different conclusion.